In the midst of the Christmas party's clamor, Emily Walker picked up my smartphone. My phone is not working properly somehow, so let me use yours for a moment. She said that, and with practiced ease, began to operate it. At that moment, I suspected nothing. I never imagined that at that very moment, $8,000 would be transferred from my account to hers. And when I confronted her about it, I could hardly believe my ears at what my parents said. Oh, it's fine. Just save up again. You can do it, right, Rachel? At that moment, something shattered with a loud noise. All the anger, the sadness, the resignation I had buried deep in my chest, they all flooded out at once. Save up again? Do you know how many years it took me to save up to that amount? Do you understand how much it was proof of my efforts? I dreamed of the future, endured everything about work and life, and was steadily building it up. So how could you laugh while casually saying, just save up again? I couldn't believe it. Until then, because they were my family, I stayed silent. I cried, resigned myself, and let it pass. But it's different now. I decided at that moment. I would never forgive them. Absolutely not. I won't let anyone meddle with my name, my money, or my future without my permission. I will be on the side that reclaims what's mine. I am Rachel. I will turn 30 this year. I work an office job in the city and live alone. It's a modest room, but quiet and cozy, and I like it. On weekends, I read books at my favorite cafe or walk in the nearby park. They're not flashy in any way, but I feel I've built a calm life in my own way. I have a reasonable relationship with my family, but I maintain some distance from them. My younger sister Emily has a lavish spending habit, and our family is indulgent toward her. Emily, 5 years younger than me, has a cute appearance, and my parents spoiled her like a flower. While they put me in hand-me-down clothes from relatives, they would say of Emily, it's too sad to give her hand-me-downs, and always bought her new things. Even though we're both daughters, as the older sister I was told, you're the older sister, so be patient, and made to endure many things. I was always forced to do so since we were little. They spared no expense on Emily, but almost always begrudged me whenever I asked for something. I couldn't complain because that's just how I was, but even as a child I felt sad. I think that the differential treatment we received built an invisible wall between me and my family. So right after I graduated high school, I moved out and began living alone. Naturally, there was no support from my family. But the joy of being freed from the suffocating atmosphere with my family was greater than the loneliness. And supporting me in that is my partner, Michael Thompson. I've been dating Michael for almost 2 years now. He's a lawyer and, to be honest, earns quite a bit of income. He's dependable to the point where I feel he's too good for me, and I feel safe when I'm with him. Lately, we've started talking a little about the future. However, I have not told my family about Michael's profession. Or rather, I have no intention of telling them. Because the moment my parents or Emily hear lawyer, they'd focus on money and status rather than his character. I'm afraid they'd use him as a convenient tool of some sort. That's why I just say, I have a partner, and keep the details vague. My family has asked many times, why don't you bring him over? But I've always evaded it vaguely. Looking back now, I'm really glad I never told them about his profession. If I had, it would have become even more troublesome. My life is mine. I keep a modest boundary so that no one steps in too deep. That's how I live. As winter approached, I received my family's annual invitation for the Christmas party. Though I usually keep my distance, on this on-year day, I somehow decide to show up. Michael, I'll be going to my parents' house for Christmas again this year. I said this while showing him the letter. He looked up from his study and smiled gently. Is that so? What do you want to do? Should I go too? No, you don't need to come. If they find out about you, I'm sure it'll cause trouble. Especially if they hear about your job, they'll see you as a cash machine. I hate that. I continued, hesitating slightly. Michael nodded. If that's how you feel, I won't go then. It's not something you should do just to avoid feeling bad, though. Wait until you feel settled inside first. Michael smiled a little. And besides, as long as I have you, I don't need anything else. Those words filled my heart with warmth. I squeezed his hand tightly. But somewhere deep down, I had a feeling that something would happen this year. Then came Christmas Day. I headed back to my parents' house for the first time in a while and was surrounded by warm laughter in the family living room. Colorful decorations, the savory aroma of roast chicken, the excited voices of children. It was like a picture-perfect, classic family Christmas party. In the middle of the bustling party, my mother whispered quietly in my ear, "Rachel, he should have come with you." I really wanted to meet him. She said that as she had done so every year, and I answered with a slightly apologetic tone. "He couldn't make it because of work." She snorted and continued in a slightly mocking tone. "What kind of job is that at the end of the year? Working through Christmas without even taking a break, he must not have a real job. You should stop dating a man who probably doesn't earn much either." I laughed it off, but her words left a small thorn in my heart. Feeling a little tired, I sat down in a chair by the wall. That was when Emily spoke to me. "Hey, Rachel, can I borrow your phone for a sec?" "Huh?" I was trying to send a gift to a friend, but my banking app won't let me log in on my phone. It keeps saying something about an error. "Can I borrow your phone for just a bit?" "A gift?" "Yeah, she recently lost her job. I just want her to feel warm this Christmas. I just need to log into my banking app, that's all. I'll log out right after, of course." I hesitated for a moment, but Emily looked serious. She had always been good at lying, but at that time, I had no real reason to doubt her. "All right, just for a little while." I unlocked the phone and handed it to her. Emily sat down on a nearby sofa, avoiding my gaze, and started swiping the screen. "All done." "Thanks." She said that a few minutes later and returned the phone. Just as she had said that, the screen showed the login page. "Okay, time for the gift exchange. Rachel, come help me." My mother's cheerful voice called out, and I quickly slipped the phone into my bag. Emily had my phone for only a few minutes, I thought. Even so, something didn't sit right in my chest. I couldn't explain why. It just felt off. The look on Emily's face then, it was like someone who had pulled off a prank. Even the way she asked to borrow the phone felt a little unnatural. No, maybe I'm imagining things. But still, that night ended without anything particularly happening. But for some reason, I felt oddly drained. Since relatives had gathered and things were lively, I decided to stay the night at my parents' house. The next morning, even after waking up, that uneasy feeling didn't go away. No, in fact, it had gotten stronger. Why didn't Emily use the phone next to me? I reached for my phone by the pillow. I wasn't sure what I was trying to do, but I felt like I needed to check something. I opened the banking app and checked the transaction history. And there, it was clearly recorded, a transfer of $8,000. The recipient's name was Emily Walker, my sister. No matter how many times I looked at the transaction details on the screen, I couldn't believe my eyes. Even so, nothing had changed. Last night, those few minutes when my sister had my phone, at that time, no way, no way. Thinking back, I did have a clue. Recently, Emily had been fiddling with my phone without asking. She had laughed it off saying, "I was just looking something up." But maybe at that time, I had saved my online banking login info in the phone's memo app. It's entirely possible she saw it. When I realized that, a chill ran down my spine. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't think of any other explanation. I sprang out of bed and, without even putting on a coat, rushed out of the room. I ran down the hall and threw open the door to the next room without knocking. "Hey, Emily." My sister, who was playing on her phone in bed, looked up at me, startled. "What the hell?" It's early in the morning. What is this? $8,000 was transferred from my account during the exact time you were using my phone yesterday. Her face tightened instantly. Huh? I don't know what you're talking about. Are you accusing me? Emily, you saw the memo in my phone with my password, didn't you? What? I never saw anything. And why would you keep something that important in your phone in the first place? Then who else could have done it? Silence. Eventually, she let out a defiant sigh and shrugged. God, you're so dramatic. It was just $8,000. Don't be so stingy. What? I bought a house. I used it for the down payment. Today's the payment deadline. I needed it. A down payment? On what? It's a great house. One I applied for. Actually, the mortgage is under your name. What? Under my name? Well, I couldn't get approved. But it's going to be a family home in the future, right? So it's fine. My mind went completely blank. Without me knowing, a mortgage had been taken out in my name and $8,000 was used as a down payment. We're family, so it's no big deal. You can save up again, right? Do your best, Rachel. Emily's smirk and her lighthearted words pierced my chest like a cold blade. Why? Why would you use my money without asking? My voice rose, and just then, footsteps approached from the hallway. Are you two fighting again? Don't shout in the morning, it's disturbing the neighbors. No, Mom, listen. Emily transferred money from my account without permission. Rachel. My mother raised her voice. You're fussing again over something so small. Just save up the $8,000 again. What? If Emily was in trouble, it's your job to help. You're the older sister, right? Stop being stingy and just let it go. Money comes and goes. My father chimed in from the sofa, setting aside his newspaper. Exactly. You live alone and do whatever you want, don't you? So you got the extra money. Giving some to your sister is just natural. What they saw as natural felt like hell to me. Help? This is theft. Haha, don't exaggerate. It's fine. We're family. Their careless words and attitudes caused the emotions I had suppressed for so long to overflow, blending tears with anger. I rushed out of the room, trembling with emotion, trying my best to keep myself together. I silently left my seat. The cold air pushed me forward. At that moment, I made up my mind. Save up again? Who gave them the right to trample on someone else's life like that? My battle started then. I stormed out of my parents' house, filled with rage and disappointment, and returned to my apartment. As I opened the heavy door, there was Michael waiting. He wore his usual calm expression and instantly sensed something was wrong. What happened, Rachel? I threw my bag on the floor and, keeping my eyes down, forced the words out. My sister bought a house, apparently, and she used $8,000 from my account as the down payment without telling me. My parents just said, "You can save up again." I can't believe it. I let out a sigh. That's terrible. I can't believe your family would do that. I looked up and said, my voice shaking, I can't trust them anymore. I can't forgive them. But I feel like there's something even bigger hidden behind it. Michael listened quietly and lowered his gaze, deep in thought. When it comes to family, it's natural to get emotional. But with my line of work, I've dealt with many cases like this. Honestly, this might just be the tip of the iceberg. What? For example, your identity could have been misused, and there may be unauthorized loans taken out in your name that you're not even aware of. Right now, it's just speculation, but the first step is to request your credit report and investigate. I gave a small nod at his words. From there, Michael acted with surprising speed. As a lawyer experienced in identity theft and fraud cases, he immediately began the process to retrieve my credit records. I'll check your credit reports. If there's anything suspicious, we'll find it right away. He used his law firm's network to access detailed credit and loan histories from multiple credit agencies under my name. A few days later, when I opened the report he handed me, I couldn't breathe. It listed debts I had never seen before. Each contract might have been small individually, but accumulated over the years, they added up to $30,000. I was speechless. Credit contracts. All the signatures are different. If we get a handwriting analysis, it'll probably prove none of them are yours. Any of them look familiar? Michael asked quietly. No, none of them. I've never seen these before. I've never. He nodded and handed me another set of documents. I shuddered. The signatures on the contracts were clearly not mine. Some were jagged, some overly rounded. If I had written them, the writing wouldn't be this inconsistent. Also, the income certificates submitted for the applications were forged. The company names and phone numbers are slightly off. The contact numbers all trace back to rental phones registered under your sister's name. The stack of evidence Michael placed on the desk was as thick as a dictionary. As I flipped through the documents with trembling hands, Emily's face floated in my mind. She had done all of this. What did she even do with all these? Michael tapped on his tablet and showed me a screen. It displayed numerous purchase records from luxury brand stores. Payments for spas, jewelry, overseas trips. All charged under my name, or rather, by someone pretending to be me. We also found a record of this, someone buying a house under your name. They paid $8,000 as a down payment. The day after the Christmas party. My heart froze. You might say you don't want to go to the police because she's family. But this is clearly financial fraud. The damages. They exceed $30,000 over the past 4 years. I closed my eyes slowly and exhaled deeply. Emily. She turned me into nothing more than a convenient name. With trembling hands, I held down the report, feeling as if the world around me was tilting. Looking at the investigation report, I asked Michael, why would my sister go out of her way to take out loans under my name? Why not just use her own? He explained calmly. Emily has a history of bankruptcy, so she can barely borrow from financial institutions. Her credit report is completely shot. Her income is unstable too, so it's highly likely she couldn't pass loan screenings under her own name. And more fundamentally, she probably never planned to repay them. Maybe from the very start she intended to default. But the person legally obligated to repay is the one whose name is on the contract, in this case, you, Rachel. No matter how much she borrows or misses payments, the one who will go bankrupt is you. Emily won't feel a thing. This is a textbook case of identity theft. I muttered with my eyes downcast. My sister used my credit and my name to rack up tens of thousands in debt. From here on, you'll need to legally prove that you're the victim. It'll take time, but I'll be by your side, so don't give up. Michael's words brought a small sense of relief to my heart. In the past, I had helped out with things like home repairs or replacing appliances. Whenever I was asked, I couldn't refuse. I would convince myself, it's not that much, and give the money. But after this, I decided never to give them a single cent again. Michael, I'm not giving them any more money. I can't ignore what's happening. He nodded quietly. That's the right decision. Irresponsible support only breeds a vicious cycle. A few days later, a message arrived from my mother. The water heater broke. The repair costs are high and we're in trouble. Just a little help would be enough. The old me would have sent the money without a word. But not anymore. I stared at my phone and took a deep breath. Then I replied with just one sentence. I'm sorry. I can't help you anymore. After I hit send, a small ache formed in my chest. But within that ache, there was a definite resolve. From then on, the calls and messages from my parents and Emily came frequently. Sometimes they even showed up at my apartment. We need to talk. We're in trouble. You're the only one we can count on. As if it were only natural that I should help them. but I no longer intended to repeat the same mistakes. No matter how much my chest ached, I wouldn't say, okay. That boundary I held firm was the life of my own I had finally claimed. Rachel, how could you? Are you even family? My mother's voice trembled with anger, and my father approached with a stern expression. You're the ones who used my money without asking. You're disturbing the neighbors, so go home, I said firmly. After a moment of silence, they left without another word. The sound of the door closing echoed heavily in my heart. I'm going to Michael's. I'll stay there for a while. When I called him, he agreed immediately. The next day, I packed only the essentials and took refuge at his home. Michael opened the door and welcomed me with a smile. You can feel safe here. I'm not the only one on your side. Let's fight this together. And so, I chose to sever ties with my family and took the first step to reclaim my own life. Michael, in his capacity as a lawyer, began acting as my official legal representative. He thoroughly examined each of the fraudulent loan contracts, gathered evidence that my signatures were forged, and began negotiations with banks and lenders. He collected the necessary documents, made contacts, and initiated both civil and criminal legal proceedings against my sister and parents. The evidence and documentation Michael compiled were overwhelming. It became clear that all my signatures had been forged, and the income verification documents were fabricated. The financial institutions could no longer ignore it. The official notice stating, "You have no obligation to pay," arrived just before the foreclosure. Instead, the lawsuit and seizure order were sent to Emily. The previously overlooked delinquencies and fraudulent activities were now being pursued legally, and my sister had suddenly become the defendant. At this rate, she'll lose everything, the house, the assets, Michael said calmly. Those who commit fraud must be held accountable under the law. I had finally taken the first step toward reclaiming my life. 1 year later, on a bitterly cold winter morning, enforcement officers gathered at the front door of Emily's house. The doorbell rang. Emily opened the door with a sour look, and there stood an official and a man in a suit. We are here to carry out a property seizure. The cold voice rang out, and Emily, her face pale, shouted, No one told me. Why are you suddenly showing up? Emily screamed at the entrance. The officer replied calmly, This is not sudden. Advance notices and warnings regarding the seizure have been mailed multiple times. A final notice was sent just a week ago. I never saw those. Her mother screamed hysterically, and her father yelled back, You threw them away again, didn't you? I didn't see anything. The mail was all for you. Amid the chaos, Michael approached the door with composed steps. Excuse me. I'm Michael Thompson, an attorney representing Rachel Walker. An attorney? Why would she bring a lawyer into a family matter? He paused briefly, then added with a gentle smile. By the way, I'm also in a relationship with Rachel. What? Emily's face changed instantly. Her mother's eyes widened. No way. Rachel's boyfriend is a lawyer? Didn't you say he was some broke guy who couldn't even take a Christmas break? Standing beside Michael, I gazed quietly at my family. Sorry for hiding it, but I don't owe you the truth anymore. The officer resumed his duties. Any further interference with the enforcement will result in forced eviction. Emily tried to step forward with a flushed face, but our father grabbed her arm to stop her. Stop, Emily. There's nothing we can do now. Still, she shouted in a trembling voice, This is our home. This is too cruel. But no one answered. The men in suits silently entered the house, walking through the kitchen, living room, even Emily's study and closet without hesitation. What the hell is this? This is a legal procedure. We have the signed documents right here. Red seal stickers were affixed. Luxury furniture was carried out. Even the chandelier on the ceiling was being dismantled by the crew. The workers continued in silence, loading furniture onto the truck parked in the yard. The living room clock was removed. My mother's cherished antique cabinet was taken out. I just watched everything quietly with a strangely calm, detached gaze. That day, when I came back, everything had already changed. Michael stepped forward calmly. Thank you for not interfering with the enforcement. Also, I came to deliver this. He held out an envelope. Multiple complaints addressed to each individual, and criminal notifications for fraud and identity theft. What? You've got to be kidding. Emily started to shout, but once again, our father stopped her. His hand was already trembling. I said nothing. I simply stood beside Michael, quietly staring at the envelope. It took several years, but I filed criminal charges against my sister Emily and my parents. The thoroughly examined evidence, forged signatures, and loan contracts were so poorly and maliciously falsified that they completely lost the trust of financial institutions. Accompanied by Michael, I went to the police station with copies of the forged contracts and handwriting analysis reports. I submitted a criminal complaint for identity theft and fraud. As I signed with trembling hands, I felt something heavy settle deep in my chest. I had told myself so many times, because they're family, that this had gone far beyond anything that could be forgiven. It was my own family who was tearing apart my future, my credit, and my life. Michael quietly and firmly supported me every step of the way. Without him, I wouldn't have made it this far. The investigation began quickly and was soon forwarded to the prosecutor's office. Emily and my parents were questioned and, faced with overwhelming evidence, could no longer deny the charges and were formally indicted. In court, the image of the family I once believed in began to crumble. The trial was conducted with strict fairness. My parents admitted guilt and entered guilty pleas. The court sentenced them to 5 years in prison for fraud and identity theft. There was no suspended sentence, but they would be eligible for parole after serving 3 years. Emily, as the ringleader, received an even harsher sentence. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison for document forgery, fraud against financial institutions, and private document falsification. She was also ordered to pay damages to me. At the moment of the verdict, Emily's face twisted, yet she wore an expression that still seemed detached from reality. I, on the other hand, said nothing. I quietly realized, deep within me, that the long tunnel of silence had finally come to an end. The court ruled that I had no legal obligation to repay the fraudulent loans taken out in my name. Instead, those debts were shifted to Emily and my parents. But their financial situation was already ruined, and the remaining debts stayed unpaid. The seized house and belongings were auctioned off as compensation. Some of the debt was recovered through the auction, but it didn't come close to covering the full amount. I received partial victim compensation from the government, but it wasn't nearly enough to heal the emotional damage or restore my credit. Still, thanks to Michael's efforts as a lawyer, my innocence and reputation were legally and firmly protected. Since the verdict, Emily and my parents have begun facing their emotional problems seriously while bearing their legal responsibilities. They are undergoing cognitive behavioral therapy and trying hard to overcome years of guilt and self-justification. It's not easy, but they continue taking small steps to face their past mistakes and change. As for me, I've cut all ties with them. No matter how much they change, there's no longer a place for them in my life. It was a strong decision I made to protect my deeply wounded heart. Now, I have Michael by my side. He's not just a partner. With his deep legal knowledge and experience, he supports and protects me. We are now officially engaged, starting a new future together. Even after the verdict, letters sometimes arrive from my parents and Emily. They contain words of reflection and apology that don't seem dishonest. But I still haven't recovered enough to write back. Still, I know deep down that I can't completely sever the bond of blood. Right now, meeting or speaking with them is still too difficult. But someday, just maybe, I'll be able to write a reply. That day feels like it's getting a little closer. The wounds of the past will never disappear. But even carrying those scars, I'm reclaiming my life and taking firm steps forward. No matter what hardships may come, I am no longer alone. I am determined to walk on my own and find my own happiness.